Good morning. Welcome to Community Coffee. I'm your host, Trina Myers, and I have a special guest with us today. I'm so excited to introduce to you Shannon Sorensen. She comes from a neighboring state, and as you can see, she has a sash, so we did connect through Pageantry. However, we have some zebra life commonality. And I'm just really excited for her to share her story and share her positivity and enlightenment with you all. And let's see how you might be able to help her in her community. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Shannon.
Thank you.
So I'm going to just kind of hand the torch over to you. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Shannon, and I am a wife and a mom of 3 boys. And I'm also an entrepreneur. I have owned my own business for about 5 years. And yes, I am in a pageant. This is my first one. So lots of learning I'm definitely getting right now. Yeah, I'm just, I've been married. We just celebrated our 16th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Last week. And then we had Mother's Day. Then we had my son turned 8. So it's been a busy last week. So yeah.
So what is your business? You said you're entrepreneur. What do you do?
I do spray tans for a living.
Oh, nice.
Kind of crazy how I got into it. Being in that corporate world, I got tired of all of the negativity and just, being worn down all the time and bringing a lot of that home with you and feeling like, gosh, what would it be like if I could just be my own boss, keep my own hours, do what I want to do. And I just kind of got into doing this by accident and started out with just some friends. And they're like, you're really good at this. You should totally open a business. And it took me about a year before I decided I was going to make it an actual business. And I've been going strong for 5 years now.
Wow. I bet you've been a huge inspiration to your friends and family around you to see you take that leap.
Yes. I think at first they were like, well, we're going to support her, but I'm not sure how well it's going to go with, a lot of the salons with tanning beds and things like that. And I'm like, well, this will be a whole nother experience, and you've got somebody actually face to face with you. You can carry on a conversation, and it's been great. I can't complain. I've been super blessed.
So you have a salon, or do you do traveling with it, or how does that work?
I have an actual space. It's located in Millard, and it's like a little suburb of Omaha. And I'm actually getting ready to move in the next couple of weeks to a much bigger space, which is nice. So I'll be able to accommodate more people, wedding parties, things like that. I used to be mobile. That's what I started out with because nobody around here traveled to you. And it was really nice. But then I realized you don't get to do as many people if you're traveling.
Right.
So I, again, got very lucky. And with only maybe a month into doing that, there was a space that opened up and I took it. So everything was aligning the way it was supposed to.
Wow, that's great. If some of our listeners are maybe considering going the route of entrepreneurship, what would be some tips that you would give to them?
Oh, that's a good question. Go in with your eyes open. It sounds great. It sounds glamorous, but it's a lot of work. And it takes an army. It takes a village. It takes a lot of support to get things going. Even though I work for myself, I'm the only one that does it. I still have my husband. I still have a lot of people that, I couldn't make this without them. You got to learn to manage your time, which is very difficult. So when you have a family and you have a business, you have to learn to cut that off, which sometimes is very difficult for me. I tend to, if I'm off at 8, I'll still answer your text until 10 or 11. But that's what
Oh,
makes me unique. That's what, I think
sure.
that's why people like me, because I'm not your typical like salon or things like
Nine
that.
to five type of
Yeah.
thing. Hmm.
I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I'm somebody who knows that some things come up and I may not have got to ask you because I was working till 10 o'clock at night. I may not answer it, but I will as soon as I can. Um, but more than anything, just if you have that gut feeling, research it, and go for it, because you will never know unless you actually do it. It's
Right.
scary. Gosh, it's scary, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, I have found that myself. I have dabbled in my own small business in different aspects for many, many years.
Mhm.
And you're right. You just have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you'll
Uh,
have those moments where you're like, what am I doing?
right.
Like with COVID and things like that, that's a scary thing for a lot of small business owners, because there was a lot, unfortunately, that didn't survive. And, my business obviously had to be shut down just like most of, people around America. So, around the world. And, I got lucky. And when we were able to open back up, people were flooding. They were like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy to be here." And it makes you feel good, because you're like, okay, so I am essential. I am needed, for your mental health. So,
Right. Yeah. And so, what were some things that kept you, to help you get through COVID? Because you were considered probably like a salon where, I mean, I think that they were held where they had to not be able to be open
right.
for a longer amount of time. So,
Yeah.
what were some things that you did to help you get through that?
Well, thank goodness. Being in the spray tan world, I had such a huge community with a lot of my brands that I use. And so they would give us their products, like their self tanners, things like that. And I would buy them up like crazy, because I know people still wanted to look good and feel good.
Hmm.
So I would put out like a package thing on the social media, and I would tell them, "Hey guys, I've got everything you need to." To stay tan, to be out of the sun, so you don't have to worry about skin cancer, all these things. Because I had a lot of clients that their bodies are very sensitive to that and have had skin cancer. So I wanted to make sure that I was still going to be able to give them stuff and make sure they had the good stuff, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's not good, or it's going to turn you orange or this or that. So I would meet them either at the shop, and I would set it down on the curb and they'd come pick it up. They could Venmo, they could do whatever. So I made it very convenient, to be able to still service them under those conditions. And it worked out pretty good. And a lot of people did that, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's great that you were able to have that mindset and think creatively to still provide a service for your clients and still be able to keep your business open.
Yeah. It was definitely very difficult, because then you've got 3 kids that are home and you're like, what am I going to do? I still got to pay rent. I still have to do all these things. How am I going to do this? I don't want to get kicked out. And thank goodness, we had a nice landlord who understood that, this was beyond our control. He was also out of business. So it was, we made it work. It took a minute for it to get off the ground, but when people wanted it, they would call you in. And you just keep running specials, and they would do it when we would open up, whenever that would be. We've got you covered.
Wow, that's great. So, before I pivot into the next area I want to talk about, what is a tip? Because I do spray tan as well. What is a tip besides exfoliating?
Mhm.
Obviously, before doing this a spray tan, what would be a tip that you think would be helpful for anybody who uses a spray tan?
Whether you are actually going somewhere, or you're doing it yourself with the self tanner, I am a stickler when it comes to prepping properly. That makes all the difference in the world. So if you're calling a place and they're going to get you in the same day and they don't tell you anything, I would avoid those people at all cost. because if you've never done it before, then you probably have not properly prepped your body so that you can keep that spray tan and it looks really nice. So all my clients have to prep the night before. So like you said, exfoliating, but you also want to shampoo your hair normal. You want to, just regular shower, exfoliate and shave. And then absolutely no product on your body whatsoever. And some people freak out about that part. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to be so dry. But it's like working with a clean canvas. So if you wake up in the morning, though, and you have to go to work, by all means, put your makeup on, put your deodorant on. We'll just make sure that that stuff is all removed before we actually tan you. But as far as lotion and stuff like that, I tell everybody keep it off until it is time for you to be able to put that stuff on, because that does make a huge difference.
That's so interesting because I've always heard that you should moisturize before putting it on. So after, okay.
Yep. Because what happens is if you're not using the right stuff or you have an oil base on it and things like that, you're kind of blocking the spray tan to actually set into the skin like it needs to. So,
and that makes sense.
Yeah. And a lot of people just, like people will message me and they're like, hey, can I get in today? I'm like, sorry. I'm like, I just want to make sure that I give you the best experience you possibly can, because it's my livelihood. It's my name behind that tan. And you get a bad experience because I let you in when I don't normally let people in that day, then I would feel bad and you would go back and tell somebody, oh my gosh, my tan looks horrible. Right. And so that's, I always tell people, if you call a place and they don't give you any instructions, I wouldn't go there, because more than likely they're not going to tell you how to take care of it after the fact, because there's two parts. It's very important.
Wow.
That's why you see a lot of people walking around that don't necessarily look good.
Right.
A lot of orange tans walking around.
Yeah. Oh, that's a wonderful tip. Thank you so much. I learned something today too.
Absolutely.
So we connected, as I mentioned, not just through pageantry, but because we live zebra lives. And you want to tell us a little bit about that and I could tell them what it means, but I want to hear from your perspective.
Well, I have a son who was diagnosed last year with cancer. So I am a mama who is literally just trying to keep it together and spread awareness about childhood cancer. It hit us very unexpectedly, which, does everybody.
Right.
And so that's kind of how, I fit into that world. And not a club that, any of us really want to be in, but I tell you what, it's a club like nobody else, because no one understands you like people who are in it, whether you are directly affected by it or you are surrounded by it because it's a family member. Right. It's definitely, it's a lot of amazing people out there.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing, what specific type of cancer does he have?
He has, it's a rare brain tumor. It's called PPTID, and it was in the pineal gland. It's so rare, like most of these cancers can be. There's only about 13 in the country who have what Gabriel has. Wow. So to research it, you're not going to really find anything. So I made a point to never Google it, never get on it. And I knew, knowing the type of person that I am, that if I did, I was going to be so fixed on that, and I was going to be focused on that part, that it would take away from what I needed to do for him.
Wow. That's a really good tip for anybody who's going through these type of challenges, because I think you're right. We tend to Google Dr. Google everything, and then we get all worked up from it.
Yeah. And not everything that you read on there is accurate, and each case is so very different. It's so unique to that individual.
How did you, were there signs, were there symptoms that, indicated what, something's not right?
Yeah, we, it was in December, and Gabriel was at school, and we think this is kind of what woke the tumor up. He fell at the, I think it was during recess in gym, and he hit his head pretty hard, they said, on the gym floor. And it was only maybe a week later that he woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was screaming that his head was hurting so bad. And I thought, ooh, what could that be? I'm like, maybe it's a reaction from him falling, but why would it take a week?
Right.
And then, he finally settled down with some ibuprofen. And then a week later, same thing, 3 o'clock in the dot, he wakes up screaming. Now, this time he was running to the toilet. Like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I don't really recall if he actually did throw up, but he was definitely like wanting to.
Right.
And I felt like that one lasted a long time, and ibuprofen wasn't really kicking it. And still, we're like, I don't know what's happening here. So that was the last headache that we recall. And then all of a sudden his eyes would start getting really irritated with the Christmas lights, certain LED lights. He would like cover his head over with the blanket and was like, can you turn those off, Mom? That hurts. And then eventually we took him to the pediatrician. She just said that, he could be suffering migraines. It's not really common, but he could be. Just keep an eye on him. And sent us home. And then, gosh, maybe a week later, I started noticing that one of his eyes was turning inward. And I thought, are you purposely crossing your eyes like kids used to do? Like I know we did when we were little. And he's like, Mom, I'm not doing it on purpose. And then it started to become even worse. Well, we're like, we probably should call the eye doctor. Well, it probably took about 2 weeks before I could get him into the ophthalmologist. And that's who discovered that he had something going on. Wow. So we probably had a good month or so in there before we actually got any news of what could possibly be going on. And he just did a regular eye exam and saw that there was a bunch of pressure built up behind both optic nerves. And basically just said, Children's is expecting you. Come on in and get an MRI and a lumbar puncture. And I was like, what? We were just here for an eye exam. Like, what is this? And
his symptoms up to the lazy eye are very common to migraines. Yeah. I'm a migraine sufferer myself. So that's pretty scary.
Yeah. So that day changed our lives forever.
Sure. Now, there is something that you are doing on behalf of your son, which I think is fascinating. I've checked out the website. You want to share that with our viewers?
So we created in January a nonprofit called Gabes Giving Tree. Gabe is such he's such a ray of sunshine. He's almost like the poster child for childhood cancer in a lot of people's eyes, because no matter what this kid has been through, he's always had a smile on his face. He always compliments people. And so we were patients at St. Jude Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And so that was very near and dear to us. And when we'd walk up and down the halls, Gabe would always feel so bad for these kids. And I kept looking, I'm like, well, you realize you're one of these kids too. And he goes, I know, Mom, but gosh, it's just not fair that some of these babies. And he's like, I just want to do something. And so we were just thinking, and I'm like, I need something else on my plate. I've already been dealing with this, but I feel like, when you're being called to do something, it just works.
Sure.
So we created a nonprofit, and we're in the infancy stages. Nobody really explained to me how difficult it was, what all it takes, and really how long this vision is going to take to do. We say it's up and running, but it's not really, we're not anywhere yet, because we just got, I had a meeting last week with an amazing person who is a grant writer. So we're in the process of trying to get grants, and we're working with some pretty cool people. So I'm so excited about that, but we're doing wellness boxes, and we wanted to go on the side of, what are things that you need right then and there to take care of yourself when you're impatient. There's so many other organizations out there who are catering to the kiddos with, toys and things like that to keep them happy. But I was like, what about the essential things that we need that we don't think about when you're going through radiation? Some of these kids' skin breaks out. Like Gabriel got horrible eczema, and not every lotion could be put on his body. He would cry, it would burn, he would itch. And so we are collaborating with another small business whose husband actually had cancer and passed away several years ago. And so we are doing a essential line. So we're going to have like lotion, foot balm, lip balm, deodorant. We're even going to do a sunscreen and a soap and shampoo. Wow. We're also going to put in there, which was something that was very important to us. We fell in love with meditation and Reiki and things like that. So we're going to put in a clear quartz crystal with the meaning behind it. And if that's not your thing, and we're going to put a prayer rock in there as well. We want to make sure that everybody kind of has a little bit of something, and some peppermint oil in a lavender oil, and a journal. And we're actually collaborating with another gal who's going to be putting in Scentsy buddies. They're having like a lot of their upline people, which we're trying to connect with Scentsy, because I really do think that Scentsy should come up with a cancer buddy. That would be a really good thing for them. They would sell a ton of those things. So
my daughter's a Scentsy representative, or whatever you call
them.
So yeah, we got my grandson's son. I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. So what she's doing is, normally in the past, they have taken, I think it's their upline, they'll buy them or they'll get them donated to them, and they donate it to the Children's Hospital. So this year they're going to donate all of those to Gabes Giving Tree, and that's what's going to go in the boxes, which is nice. And then we were starting to just kind of keep going with it. And we're like, I feel like there's things that we're forgetting. We're not thinking about the parents' mental health, and what about the siblings that are left behind? So we are also going to create, Lord help us, a parent box and a sibling box. So yes, because, even if we combine the sibling box with the parents box, we're not sure how that's going to work yet. But if there were things that it would have been nice to know coming into this, like 10 most important things that you need to take with you, things that you may not think, a phone charger, you're going to need that everywhere you go. A really good backpack, because you're going to be spending most of your time in that hospital. You want to make sure all your essential things in there, your water, your snacks, things that keep you sane, your clarity good, because, not all of us felt that way.
Sure.
I got really, really mentally sick. And if it wasn't for my husband being there, it would have been impossible for me to take care of Gabriel. So those are things that I want to make sure that I give back, because I know what it was like for me. And I know I'm not the only person that has gone through that or will go through that.
Right. So it sounds like you are going to do more of like a family pack.
Yeah.
Where then you can also provide those essentials for parents and siblings.
Right. A little journal in there that we want to write things in it. And Gabe wants to put a personal note into each and every one of these boxes that say, if I can do this, you can do this. And, just putting a little extra touch in there. If he had it his way, he would put every single thing that brought him comfort into that box. I was like, that would be a really big box.
So with the website, I know that's something that you are currently working on.
Yes.
What it looks like now is just beautiful. But is this something that maybe if somebody's wanting to support this, that you would have available for them to purchase on your website, and then you take it and donate it to?
That's a great idea. We have thought about that. I actually had talked to, I think people are placed in your life when they're supposed to be. And I had a client the other day who, they must have a charitable donation that they do every year. And she asked me what one thing, if we could add to our box, what would we, what could I help you with? And the first thing I thought of was the backpack. And she's like, okay. I'm like, well, these backpacks we're looking at could be $100. She goes, I don't care. I was like, what? So things like that is amazing. But things that could go in those backpacks, it could literally be wet wipes. I know that sounds crazy, but, your hands, things like that, the antibacterial wipes. COVID is always going to be around us. And when your immune system is compromised anyway, you're always still washing or wiping everything down. And I think that's
Right.
so important. So things like that, more of the essential stuff would be amazing to put in there. Things that we don't, journals, that's probably a big thing. I want to put a journal in each and every one of those, because not only is it good for us to put things down there, but each and every day when you have a thought, write it down. This is your personal journey. This is something that you're going to go look back on and say, this is how I felt on day 1. This is day 56. Anything that the doctor has to say, write those things down, because you're going to be overwhelmed and you can't remember all those things when your mind is going 50 miles an hour. So writing that stuff down in that journal or that notebook is completely essential.
Now, do you have an Amazon wish list that if somebody wanted to purchase individual items like the wipes or
we
whatever?
have not yet. That is actually on our list. The gal that's doing our website, we are creating one of those. I know that she's putting on there like the Team Gabe shirts, which we're trying to not combine the two because it's two separate things. We started out with Team Gabe to keep everybody updated on everything that he's doing, what his journey is like. And then Gabe's Giving Tree obviously is just more of the fundraising side of things and what we're going to be doing. Right. But yes, we are working on that. So that should hopefully be up here in the next week or so.
Okay, great.
For sure.
So once you have that, if you can come back to this episode and put it in the comments.
Yes, absolutely.
That way people know how that they can give back and contribute to this effort. That would be great.
And we're also doing something with Amazon too, that we're working on, is when you purchase things, a percentage of that will go to Gabe's Giving Tree. So you don't have to necessarily purchase, what we're asking, but I know a couple of other people who do that, and they said, it adds up quickly, which is nice. I'd never even heard of that stuff. A lot of that stuff you don't hear about until you're in the situation that you're in.
Right. And another, now I know I just, relocated to Iowa from Georgia, and there's a grocery store called Kroger.
Yeah.
And I know that they're all over. They also have a program that whenever somebody uses their discount card or whatever it's called, a percentage of their purchase goes back to a nonprofit. So
that's awesome.
That would be another one I'd recommend if you.
That is something that I wanted to work on last September, is go to a lot of these local stores, because in September is, childhood cancer, wear yellow, all of that good stuff. And it's also, people were putting things for breast cancer and this and that. And I had somebody in front of me at Ulta, and she's like, would you like to round up $1 for whatever? And I said, hey, can I ask you a question? Who would I talk to about doing something like this for childhood cancer? I said, we need to switch it up so that these businesses aren't just supporting the same organization. Mm-hmm. If September is dedicated to childhood cancer, then let's do that. If February is more for heart, then let's do that. Right. And they're like, that's a great idea. So that's something that I've been wanting to work on, and slowly go to different businesses and, let them know that, the more we bring awareness, the better things can be here in the end, because maybe you guys don't realize this, but childhood cancer only gets 4% of the research, and brain cancer gets less than that. And that is the number one killer. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think it's leukemia, but it's brain cancer. So it breaks my heart. It saddens me when think about that the next time you go to Starbucks and you're buying something, when you could have sent a little bit of that money to St. Jude, or, one of your local places that are doing a fundraiser for cancer, childhood cancer in particular. So there's a lot of things that we could be doing that we're just not doing yet. But I think if we have more people out there talking about it, then I think we can get somewhere.
Absolutely. And that's where you competing in pageantry comes in play, because it gives you the opportunity, the platform to be able to share your story and to tell your why.
Right. Absolutely. Um, I'll be competing in my first ever pageant at 46 years old. So I'm terrified, but at the same time, I'm super excited because this is my why. I'm doing it not, to go in there. I mean, we all want the crown, but if I don't get it, that's not something that, I'm going to be sad about, because I'm going there to, again, I'm talking about my why, which is childhood cancer and how it affects us, and not just my kiddo, but us as an entire family, and, how we can help those people to, really think about the impact that you could have on somebody if you just take the time to, research some of these places and, give your money to St. Jude, which is a very reputable place. I mean, they do amazing and wonderful things. And we probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about this right now, or my son wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them saving his life and continue to save his life. And so that's my why. I mean, I do it. I talk about it all the time. When I go to places, the Ronald McDonald House, all that stuff, and Nation of States is the pageant, and that's, I'm using that platform to do this for Gabriel and for all these other kids. I may not know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to go up there and I'm going to be authentically me, and I'm going to do my best and hopefully make everybody proud.
That's all that matters, is just being you. And I think that genuine love and passion will come through, and
so.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Is there any last thing that you would like to share with our viewers?
I just want to say thank you guys so much for allowing me to be on here and just kind of talk about, childhood cancer. And it's been a very long journey, and we still have a long ways to go. But I just want you all to know that when you are placed in a situation that you haven't been given a choice, you will rise above it. You will find out that you are so much stronger than you realize. And because of that, you can make things happen that you may not have happened. And I look at Gabes cancer sometimes as a blessing. I know that sounds crazy, but it has literally changed our lives in so many ways. And we are using him to make a difference. We are going to, to change the world. That's my goal, is we're going to change this world. We're going to make it a better place. And we're going to try our hardest to, get answers and cures for these kids so that they don't have to go through this anymore, that they have a chance at life, and we don't have to, explain to a parent that there's nothing we can do. No child should die.
Yes, I agree. Well, I just, it's just one person at a time is all it takes.
That's right.
Your passion for what you're doing. And I love the idea about the essentials. That's something unique that I have not heard of before. So
good.
Kudos.
We're so excited.
Yes, I think that's a phenomenal idea. So I look forward to seeing how we can help you in that journey and contribute it to his giving trees. So.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Shannon, on Community Coffee. I have just thoroughly enjoyed hearing your story and your why, and look forward to hearing about how this all comes together for you. And we'll be rooting for you. When is your competition again?
It is August 5th through 7th at, it's going to be in Kansas City.
In Kansas City. Okay.
Yep. So excited.
Yes. So we'll be cheering you on and can't wait to hear how the outcome comes of it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again, viewers, for tuning in to Community Coffee and joining me, Trina Myers, your host, with our guest, Shannon Sorensen. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and tune in next week. I actually have guests lined up for the next few months. So tune in every week as I will have a guest on Community Coffee. Have a great day.